Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to SHC TV. I am Secondhand Coke, welcoming you to our fourth episode of Markle's Marks, our handwriting analysis. So again, we are tackling part 4 of what is going to be, this will be our last episode of this series. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it hasn't gotten a lot in terms of traffic compared to some of my other videos, but it seems like those of you who are in on it really liked it, and I enjoyed doing it. So I'm glad we've gone on this little tangent for the past week or two. Let us delve into our opening music for Markle's Marks, and then we will start looking at some last pieces of her handwriting before drawing this segment to a close. Okay, that's done. So for today, we are going to look at a few things. Of course, we're going to look at that infamous ornamentation that she does, those slashes that she creates on top of random letters that are supposed to make her handwriting look ornamentive and festive and calligraphic, if that's a word, but somehow fall short of doing so. So we're going to look at those and explore what those may mean. We're going to take a look at her aggressive capitalization, because her capitals are huge compared to her lowercase letters. And so we're going to take a look at what that may mean. And we're also going to look at some quirky letter making things that she does, explore what a couple of those might mean. But most importantly, I have found an sample of her handwriting without all the bells and whistles. It's from 2014. And so we're going to look at it, and we're going to look at what it tells us, especially in comparison of this highly stylized handwriting that she has inflicted on the world since her meeting Harry and becoming somebody that anybody had heard of ever. So let's get to it. Okay, so this is Megan's handwriting in, I think, its basic form. So it says, "Daddy, I don't express as often as I should how much you mean to me. Everything you do for me has turned me into who I am, and I'm so grateful. All I want to do is make you proud, and I promise, no matter what, I'll do it. Thank you for everything, Daddy. I love you with all my heart, now and forever. Love, Bean." Interesting. So based on the automated text in the card, it looks like it was a Valentine's card. At some place, I think I may have covered it up with the I dot explanation, but it was dated 2015. So not too long before she met Harry. And this is how she just writes to her father when she doesn't expect it to go into People magazine, I guess, have her friends turn it all into People. So yeah, it's pretty interesting how this handwriting is so very different from what we've seen up to this point. A few things that I notice. One is that generally the writing follows all the rules that we're taught when we're taught to write. So in handwriting analysis, they say that the closer handwriting resembles the rules that we're taught when we're taught how to write cursive writing, the more it indicates simply that the person is a rule follower. which is interesting to think about with Meghan Markle. Um, I can see that with her, in that there's no real creativity for her. She doesn't, she's not able to think efficiently. So people who are efficient thinkers, they tend to break their handwriting up. Some of it's print, some of it's cursive. They'll link together letters in a way that is not the conventional way we're taught to link letters in cursive writing, and that shows an efficiency. And so from this, I don't think that Meghan is especially good at working hard or working smart. I don't think she has either of those talents. I think she's pretty unoriginal, and this is her. If this is her innate handwriting without all the bullshit on top of it, then even when we go and take a look at the handwriting with the bullshit, you can see just how unimaginative she is. Now, some interesting letters that stood out to me, and it's hard to see because she does write so small and she still does have that innate habit of writing her letters so that they don't open very much. For heaven's sake, they open a whole lot more in this normal letter to her father than they do in these stylized letters that are meant for the whole world to see and look at her super special handwriting. So remember, the closed letters indicate an enclosed mindset, someone who's not open to other people and who's not open to other people inserting anything to the narrative, who are not people who are cagey, who won't show all of their cards, who are hiding something. That's what her stylized handwriting looks like, and her real handwriting doesn't look much different, though you can see the O's are open. And that one I've got the arrow pointed to, I indicated because it's got what we call lying loops in them. So it's got like a double loop inside of it, and you can barely see it. And you might even disagree with me that it's there, but do look at her other handwriting. You can see it in other O's. And I think you can see it in other O's in this very writing, like the O and the do, like I want to do is make you proud. It looks like it's in the O and the proud and the U. So those indicate deception, maybe in what she's saying or in how she's feeling. We certainly know that as time went on, she had no desire, it seems, to make her father proud or to continue to be grateful to him for what he's done for her. So maybe she's even lying about that. Another thing that is in this that's not quite according to the rules is with the T bar, and particularly the one that I pointed to. When you see T bars that kind of stop at the like the slash stops as it hits the vertical bar, that indicates a hesitation or a cautiousness. She says, everything you do for me has turned me into who I am. So it's interesting that she would just show that instant hesitation there when she's talking about how everything her father's done has turned her into who she is. I mean, and given now that her story is that she's such a self-made woman, maybe that's it. As far as her personal myth about being insanely focused on details, to prove that wrong, look for eyes with no dots. Usually, and in this particular version, she dots her eyes for the most part that I could see. Let me see. I might be wrong. Yeah, she seems to get them all, but especially in her later writings, take a look at the eyes and you'll often find I's without dots. You'll find T's without bars too. And so, the old saying, make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. That means make sure you pay attention to the details. And Megan, let's just say, doesn't. So this was her once upon a time. Now we'll take a look at a recent example and some little quirks in there. I think I have two more slides I want to look at, and then we will be done with our handwriting analysis. So here's a newer sample or some newer samples of her writing, although this one here on the right says it was written in 2012, yet it's still got that hyper stylized stuff we didn't see on that one letter to her father from 2015. So that's interesting. One thing to pay attention to is the difference between how on the previous letter the capitals are pretty reasonably sized compared to the lowercase letters, as opposed to what we see here with her, fancy handwriting that she throws out to try to impress us plebes. So when the capitals of your words are balanced with your lowercase letters, when it makes sense, and seems reasonable, it just represents kind of a harmony between what the person thinks of himself and the value granted to the person by others. So we can assume that at the time she was writing her father in 2015, that her personal opinion of who she was or how she saw herself was more in line at that time with how other people saw her. Now, however, there's this huge discrepancy between the capital letters and the lowercase letters, and that represents how, we see her like the lowercase letters. She sees her like her capital letters, and that's a huge discrepancy between the two, as you can see. So that's an interesting point of analysis that I think bears out when you take a look at her personality and how she's expressed her personality recently. The other thing is with the humps, the M humps, and you can see them with the N's too. Whenever the second hump of the M, as we see in the signatures and the initials, in a couple of the even lowercase m's up in the text of the letter. Whenever the second ones are bigger than the first, it shows self-consciousness. It shows a heightened sense of worry about what others think of you. So Megan can say she's not reading the magazine. She doesn't read the I read the Economic Times. Right. She can say she reads all that and doesn't read her press and isn't over like on the subreddit seeing what new things are being said about her that day. She can say she's not reading all that, but she is incredibly insecure, it would seem, about what others think about her based on the humps in her M's. So she might want to tone down one or the other before she tries to make that lie fly again. Another thing is that even though this is the more stylized handwriting, I do still say, or I would encourage you to be on the lookout again for those lying loops. So it's the O that will have a double loop in it. So it'll look more crowded there up at the top. Seems like there's one in the O of the so where it says inspiring so many people as you do it. And then there's one in proud. So very proud of that. That of seems to have it as well. It's kind of hard to tell because she has closed up the vowels in her fancy writing. remembering again that how open you are with your vowels is how open you are with who you are. So she's pinching back a lot of who she is, because apparently she doesn't want us to see who that person is. So that's all that is going on that I can see really quickly in these samples here. Last thing I want to leave you with handwriting, and then we will be done with this handwriting experiment, is this concept called the felon's claw. So for this slide, let's take a look at that feature that we all noticed right off the bat about Meghan Markle's handwriting, and that has been driving us nuts from the very beginning because it simply doesn't make sense. And that is the slashes, the they're not even accent marks. I don't even know what to call them other than ornamentation that she puts on the lines, the top points of her writing on each line. And she doesn't do it with any rhyme or reason. It's not every other, it's not one per word, it's not certain letters. It's just whatever she feels like in the moment. Like, for example, in this sample I've given you, the entire third line doesn't have a single accent, but the first three do, including the line that has the salutation to her father. It makes no sense. And I have one thought about it. Well, there's a couple things about it. One, it's obviously trying to make something look fancy without actually taking the time and trouble to make it to make it make sense. So that's Meghan. Fancy, form over function 100% of the time. So this accent mark on all these letters for no reason, with no logic behind it, just to make it look fancy, and I guess make it look more like calligraphy, or to make her look like such an exceptionally, talented calligrapher or handwriter, or someone who's really creative. And really, it makes her look the opposite of creative, as we talked about in earlier slides. This is not a creative woman. This is a woman who gets a trick and makes it her trick, and does it to absolutely everything, and to the point where anybody except for her, it would seem, sees her as a one-trick pony. But she, of course, sees herself as this vivaciously talented individual. And that is the accents on the letters. Now, there is one theory that I have about it that is interesting. So there's a mark called the felon's claw, and I have an example of it down at the bottom of the slide. Usually it's seen when the person writing, they go down into their lower swoop for a G or for a Y, and instead of going all the way down and then bringing it up like a hook, they go down and then they jump back up, and then they kind of invert the hook. And that's something called the felon's claw. And the idea being that somebody who uses something like this is not to be trusted, who's not afraid to break laws, which, I guess if it's the law of, doing a lower loop on your lowercase letters, and yes, that's pretty hardcore rule breaking there. The mark itself looks exactly the same as what Megan's putting on top of all of her letters. It's the same type of little claw looking thing, little talon, kind of snatching back. But I don't know. What I don't know is if it has to be off of a lower letter, the lower point of the letter, to be considered the felon's claw, or if it coming off of the top like that is considered the felon's claw. Anybody knows anything about handwriting, let me know what you think. Otherwise, to me, it kind of looks like it fits. And if the shoe fits, she might as well wear it. I mean, she doesn't wear shoes that fit as a rule, but this one does. And I mean, I certainly can see her as someone with the potential to commit a felony or two, if she hasn't already. So I don't know. That's my theory about those little slashes that she puts on top of her letters. So take it for what you think, or leave it. But that's my theory. Okay, so that brings an end to our handwriting analysis segment. Now, I have by no means gone into even probably more than 10% into what you can do with a handwriting analysis. And so when it comes to Megan's handwriting, there is still much more that can be explored. And if you're interested in hearing more, let me know. Maybe I can do a segment every now and again, just kind of maybe once a quarter or something, just come back in with another little handwriting snippet. If you're interested, like I said, it hasn't been popular from a numbers perspective, but it seems like those of you who are into it are very much into it. And so I wanted to stay kind of faithful to that, and faithful and thankful for your being interested. And so hopefully it was good. It was a good segment for those of you who enjoyed it, and I did it a little bit of justice. But we can always come back to it in the future if that's something people are interested in doing. So that's it for Megan's handwriting. When we come back next time, I think we will take a look at the next chapter of Lady C's book. I believe that will be chapter 6. And of course, the book is Meghan and Harry, the Persecutors or Victims. And that was the second edition of the book that she wrote about Harry and Meghan. So that's that. I've watched the last 2 episodes of With Love, Megan, and I can review them, but at this point I'm like, ugh, I don't even want to. Like, I'm not even sure I want to watch the ones that drop in the fall and review those. Like, I just don't. I just don't want to give her attention like that. But they do help me. They make me laugh, and sometimes I enjoy making them. Sometimes they're just so mind numbingly boring, it's hard to do. So if you want me to do episode 7 and 8 of I'm not saying season 1, because both this set and the set that start in August are season 1. She can pretend like it's the second season, but it's not. This is just the second half of the first season. Netflix is not doing a season 2 of With Love, Megan, or at least not that I've heard yet. As far as Netflix is concerned, the rumor still is that there could be a 1 series deal with Harry and Harry only, but nothing is expected to go further with Meghan. And that includes for her business, her as ever, or was never, or ass ever. That's what I'm hearing. So, and I haven't heard anything different. I think it's very unlikely that they're going to do anything with either of them. So if that makes you feel a little better, then good. But I'm not going to go so far as to say they're definitely done. But I do think they are pretty close to being done. Let's see what else. Oh, I did hear a piece of gossip that some crew saw on Megan's vision board at her house, that she had written on that board, "No one will take our titles away." So I'm not sure if that's new or old gossip, but I heard it. And so I'm just passing it along to you good people to do with what you need to. No one will take our titles away was written in her scrawling, spidery handwriting and placed upon her sacred vision board where all that she dreams of must come true, I guess. So that's a little thing of interest too. All right, so I will see you next time with Lady C's chapter 6, and we'll talk about whether or not to finish with Love Megan, and that'll be it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. It's good to see you, and I hope to be coming back in the next couple of days to see you again and to share some more laughs and insight into this absolutely insane individual named Meghan Markle. See you soon. Appreciate you. Bye bye.